Here is something nobody tells you when you're lying on the floor after a defeat. That moment, that exact moment of ruin and embarrassment and pain, is the most important classroom you will ever sit in. Not the victory lap, not the applause, the floor. The Stoics knew this with a kind of ruthless clarity that modern culture has almost completely forgotten. We live in an age obsessed with highlight reels, with success stories told from the comfortable distance of having already won. But Marcus Aurelius did not write his meditations from a throne of easy triumph. He wrote them in a military tent, exhausted, governing a crumbling empire, watching friends die, dealing with one crisis after another. And what did he write? He wrote about the value of resistance. He wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Think about what that really means. It is not a motivational poster. It is a fundamental claim about the nature of growth. The obstacle is not separate from the path forward. It is the path forward. Every failure carries inside it the exact information you need to become better. The question is not whether you failed. Everyone fails. The question is whether you are willing to look directly at what happened, without flinching, without making excuses, and extract the lesson that only that particular suffering could teach. Most people turn away, they blame circumstances, blame other people, rush toward distraction, do anything to avoid sitting with the discomfort of having fallen short. The Stoics did the opposite. They walked toward it, and that is where this story begins. Seneca, one of the sharpest minds in the ancient world, had a striking image for what failure does to a person. He compared adversity to fire. Fire, he said, tests gold. It does not destroy gold. It purifies it. It burns away everything that was never gold to begin with. Now apply that to a human life. When things go wrong, when a business collapses, when a relationship ends, when you are passed over, when your plan disintegrates, what exactly is being burned away? The answer is everything that was fragile, everything that was built on assumption, on luck, on borrowed confidence, on the approval of others. The fire does not take what is genuinely yours. It takes what was never really yours to begin with. Seneca wrote that no man can be truly tested by good fortune. Easy times reveal nothing. They flatter you. They let you believe you are stronger, wiser, more capable than you actually are. Hard times tell the truth. And the truth, as brutal as it is the only foundation on which a real life can be built. He also warned about something subtle, the danger of avoiding difficulty so successfully that you never discover what you are actually made of. There are people who move through life arranging everything to stay comfortable, who never push into the territory where failure becomes possible, and who reach old age having lived an existence that was safe, quiet, and entirely untested. Seneca would say they chose a kind of slow disappearance over a life fully lived. The willingness to fail, genuinely and visibly fail, is the price of entry for everything worth having. You cannot get there any other way. No shortcut bypasses the fire. Epictetus was born a slave. He had no wealth, no social standing, no external freedom to speak of. By every conventional measure, his life began in failure, in the most humiliating and complete way imaginable. And yet he became one of the most influential philosophers in human history. His students included emperors and senators. His ideas shaped how the Roman world thought about the mind and about character. How? Because Epictetus understood something that most free people never grasp. The only thing that can truly be taken from you is virtue. Everything else Your reputation, your money, your status, your plans, your comfort is subject to fortune. But your character, the quality of your choices, the integrity of how you respond to what happens to you that belongs to you completely and permanently. When you fail at something external, you have lost something external. That is real and it hurts and it matters. But it is not a final verdict on who you are. The Stoics made a careful distinction between preferred outcomes and what they called the ruling faculty, the inner self that chooses how to respond. Epictetus said that even in chains, he had never been a slave in the place that mattered. He refused to let his inner world be owned by circumstances. Now think about your own failures through that lens. Did you lose the job, the opportunity, the relationship? Yes. Did you lose the capacity to act with honesty, with effort, with courage? No. That capacity is still intact, waiting. And what Epictetus would tell you without a flicker of sentimentality is that as long as that capacity is intact, you have lost nothing that cannot be rebuilt. Start from there. That is the ground that holds. There is a practice embedded in Stoic philosophy that modern psychology has independently rediscovered and confirmed. Deliberate reflection on what went wrong. Not rumination, not self-punishment, but honest, structured examination. Marcus Aurelius practiced something like this constantly. His meditations are filled with moments where he catches himself, where he admits a failure of patience, of judgment, of perspective, and then uses it to recalibrate. He was not performing humility for an audience, he was his own audience. He wrote those pages for himself as a private discipline of self-correction, and the underlying assumption is radical. When you sit with it, it assumes that failure is information, not proof of inadequacy, not a sign from the universe that you should stop trying, but raw data. Data about where your thinking was wrong, where your preparation was insufficient, where your expectations were unrealistic, where you let emotion override judgment. When you treat failure as data, your entire relationship to it changes. You stop dreading it quite so intensely because you stop experiencing it as an identity statement. It does not mean you are less than. It means you have more to learn. That distinction is everything. The Stoics would schedule time, literally schedule it for this kind of evening reflection. Seneca described reviewing his day each night before sleep, asking himself where he had fallen short, what he could have done differently, and committing to do better tomorrow. Not in a spirit of guilt, in a spirit of craft. A carpenter who makes a bad joint does not despair about being a carpenter. They look at the joint, understand what went wrong, and cut the next one with more care. Your life is the wood, your choices are the cuts. Failure is the joint that shows you where to adjust. Here is where everything comes together. You fail. You sit with it honestly instead of running. You examine it for the information it contains. You refuse to let it define your inner character, because Epictetus taught you that your character is the one thing no external event can touch. You let the fire Seneca described burn away what was never truly solid, and then you get up. But here is what the Stoics understood that most people miss. You do not get up the same. You get up with something you could not have gotten any other way. Call it earned wisdom. Call it tempered confidence, the kind that has been tested and held. Call it a more honest picture of yourself and the world. You cannot buy this. You cannot read your way to it. You can only go through it. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus did not preach resilience as an abstract virtue. They lived it in exile, in slavery, under the weight of empire. in the proximity of death and political betrayal and personal loss. And what they left behind was not a record of suffering, it was a record of transformation. Their failures were the architecture of their wisdom. And your failures, the ones you are carrying right now, the ones that feel too heavy, too embarrassing, too defining, they are not the end of your story. They are the material your story is actually made of. That is the Stoic secret. Not that successful people avoid failure, but that the people who matter most to themselves and to the world are the ones who fail and rise, carrying more than they had before. If this landed with you, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let these ideas keep working on you. The Stoics would say the work is never finished. Good, neither are you.